Hate crimes against Muslims have been on the rise since the last couple of years. The murder of two helpful persons for aiding two young women who were facing huge anti-Muslim slurs on a Port Line train is among the latest examples of brazen acts of anti-Islamic hatred. Earlier in 2017, a mosque in Victoria, Texas was burned down by an alleged anti-Muslim extremist. And just last year, members of a small extremist group called the Crusaders plotted a bombing bloodbath at a residential housing complex for Somali Muslim immigrants in Garden City, Kansas. Since 1992, following the promulgation of the Hate Crime Statistics Act of 1990, the FBI has annually tabulated hate crime data voluntarily submitted from state and territorial reporting agencies. According to the FBI data, hate crimes against Muslims reported to police surged immediately following the terror attacks of 9/11. There were 480 crimes reported against Muslims in 2001, up to 28 the year before. However, from 2002 until 2014, the number of anti-Muslim crimes receded to a numerical range between 105 to 160 annually. This number was still several times higher than their pre-9/11 levels. Other government data, such as the Bureau of Justice Statistics, which relies on almost 200,000 residential crime surveys as opposed to police reports, shows severe official undercounting of the hate crimes. These studies, based on respondents' answer to the researchers, indicate a far higher annual average of hate crime, 250,000 nationally, with over half stating that they never reported such offenses to police. FBI data also show that in 2015, there were 257 hate crimes against Muslims, the highest level since 2001, and a surge of 67% over the previous year. According to the State Judiciary Committee report of May 2017, this was the second highest number of anti-Muslim hate crimes since FBI record keeping began in 1992. Not only did anti-Muslim crime cases rise numerically in 2015, they also grew as a percentage of all hate crimes. They now account for 4.4% of all reported hate crimes, even though Muslims are estimated to be only 1% of the total population. Prejudicial stereotypes that broadly paint Muslims in a negative light are quite pervasive. From 2002 to 2014, the number of respondents who stated that Islam was more likely to encourage violence doubled from 25% to 50%, according to Pew Research. A June 2016 Reuters online poll found that 35% of Americans had a somewhat or very unfavorable view of Islam, topped only by antipathy for atheism at 38%. The latest polls also show how Muslims are feared and distrusted as a group in America. While most Americans do not believe that Muslims living in the US support extremism, these view vary widely by age, level of education, and partisan affiliation. Almost half of those 65 and older believe that Muslims in America support extremism, whereas only few college-educated adults do so. Interestingly, current polls also show that when people personally know someone who is a Muslim, the bias is much less. This confirms what psychology scholar Gordon Allport concludes in his seminal book, The Nature of Prejudice, that meaningful contact with the people, those who are different, is crucial for reducing hatred. According to the most recent Council on American Islamic Relations report, which appeared on Monday, 24 July 2017, there were more than 940 reports of potential bias incidents involving the targeting of Muslims between April and June 2017. Of those, the organizations determined 451 stemmed from anti-Muslim bias, which contributed to a 91% increase in anti-Muslim hate crimes during the first half of the year as compared to the same time period in 2016. Non-violent and non-threatening instances of harassment accounted for 16% of the incidents involving Muslims between April 1 and June 30, while outright hate crimes in which violence or a physical altercation was involved accounted for 15%. Incidents in which Muslims were inappropriately targeted by FBI made up to 12% of the cases. People were targeted at their places of residence in 17% of the reports, while 14% involved Muslims who were on walking the streets or driving their cars. Another 13% faced anti-Muslim bias while flying or traveling by bus or train. About 33% of incidents took place at a mosque or Islamic center and 9% occurred at schools. Of the incidents reported, CARE identified triggering factors for 358, including a victim's ethnicity or national origin, 32%, and preconceived notions of a victim being a Muslim, 20%. 15% of the incidents were triggered by the presence of a headscarf or hijab. 46% of the people targeted were from Middle Eastern or North American countries. Of the number of crimes identified to be based on anti-Muslim bias, the CARE report said 126 had been investigated by federal agencies between April 1 and June 30. Although the CARE report did not cite President Donald Trump's rhetoric towards Muslims as a factor in the increased anti-Muslim bias in the United States, a previous report conducted by researchers at California State University Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism found that bias crimes against various minorities and religious groups were up some 20% since Trump's election win in November. The majority of the crimes documented were against Muslims and individuals recognized as belonging to the LGBT community. On multiple occasions during his campaign, Trump made harsh statements regarding Islamic terrorists and promoted a strong vetting system to identify immigrants with ties to radical ideology. Dear viewers, I would like to reiterate here that there are more than 892 hate groups operating in the United States with sole purpose of mounting hate crimes in the country. Whole world should come forward and take this seriously by identifying them and their sources of funding. Leaving them unleashed would mean leaving the world peace on the mercy of hate mongers. I believe that never in the history of world was the need so high, the time so ripe to wipe out hate from our societies and let the people live in a multicultural, multi-ethnic and multi-religious societies.